Keisha Valentine is a hard-working single mom with two bright teenage kids, 19-year-old Debonay and 15-year-old Earl III.
They were the best of friends. They really were.
The family goes through some tough times when Keisha's marriage breaks up. She left her husband and home in Richmond, Virginia, and moved to Norlina, North Carolina, closer to her family.
He would cheat. I wouldn't say dating, I knew about it. He was out there having other relationships. He was a cheater.
But things are improving.
I was finally starting to live. I had a new job. I was working, taking care of those children.
Debonay is away from home for the first time, a college freshman. And that leaves Earl, the young man of the house, alone with his mom.
He loves his mother, and everyone knows that Earl would do anything for me.
But it's not easy for Earl to watch his older sister and best friend leave home. He even made a special video for the occasion.
Hopefully you keep this in the memory. When you go to college, you'll watch this and remember about your brother when you go to college.
He made a video for you?
He wouldn't even come to my graduation. That's how sad he was I was leaving.
On the night before her life changes forever, Keisha makes sure her son is home safe and locks up the house before bedtime. Then she sets her own homemade alarm in case anyone should try to break into the house.
I set it up so that I would know if anything would have come through, and this would fall first, and you would hear that big thud. So I would hear all that should someone come through this door.
No one has ever made an attempt to force the door. But for the first time ever in the small, dark hours of the morning, Keisha hears the sound of that board crashing to the floor. Loud and clear.
I was in there sleeping in my room, and I just heard like a bang type noise. It's like something crashed over. I just sat up in the bed, like, did I really just hear that? And I actually went out of my room, looked, couldn't see anything, it was pitch black.
Long past midnight, Keisha Valentine and her 15-year-old son Earl are asleep in their bedrooms. And the house is locked up tight and quiet when a crashing sound jolts her awake and out of bed.
It sounded like the door caved in, but I was not quite 100% sure. And that's when I started my walk up that hallway to see what happened.
She can barely see in the dark, then the flash of a gunshot.
The gun went off in my chest, like a boom.
Keisha turns and stumbles, scrambling back into her bedroom for shelter as the gunman chases her, still firing.
You don't even know how many times you're shot at that point.
I felt weak. My body was getting weak, and so I'm grabbing on to the side of my door, and I make it in there, push that door behind me. My legs give out, I fell straight dead on the floor. And I said, I'm going down on this floor.
And that's when the madman turns on Earl, who jumped out of bed to save his mom and runs straight into flying bullets.
I don't know if when he heard me running and heard the gun going off.
Keisha struggles to remain conscious. The shooter seems to have left the house. But for as long as she lives, she will never forget the words she hears next. It's Earl. He's hurt too, but he's on his cell phone calling for help.
That 911 call, that's all I heard of him.
My mom was there against the emergency. Me and my mom had just been shot. Excuse me? Me and my mom had just been shot. You and your mother been shot?
The police station is only minutes away. Officer Anton Edwards gets the call and races to the scene. And this veteran cop is stunned at the carnage he finds inside the house.
The door was open, and I walked up, and I said, is everything okay? And there's a voice inside that says, help me, I've been shot.
Did you see Earl III?
Yes, I did.
And was he conscious, alert, and breathing?
He was not very alert. I asked him what happened. He told me he'd been shot.
It's so bad, Police Chief Taylor Bartholomew is also called in for this one.
Describe to me the crime scene inside the house.
Multiple gunshot holes in the walls, in the floor. There was a lot of blood, and I was amazed that Keisha survived, honestly, if you saw the crime scene and how bad it was.
Both Keisha and Earl are rushed to a nearby hospital. Both are in critical condition.
What was getting you through those moments?
I was worrying about Earl the whole time. I kept asking, where's Earl, where's Earl? They tell me my son's going in, I guess, another ambulance or something.
Keisha drifts in and out of consciousness in the ICU. But when she can speak, she only wants to know one thing.
I would kept trying to say Earl, and they say you can't talk right now. I mean, every time I would get ready to say something, it's like as if they push medicine in me and I fall right back to sleep every time I try to talk. They tell me, no, I'll make it the first 24 hours.
Cops are desperate to find out who would unleash this vicious attack on a defenseless mother and her young son. But it isn't long before they get a confession in the most shocking way imaginable. and it's no random stranger. He's Earl Valentine Sr., Keisha's ex-husband and the father of Earl III.
What's up, everybody?
Immediately after the shooting, he's letting the world know on Facebook Live that he's the man who did it.
I just killed my wife. She lied on me, had warrants taken out on me. She drugged me all the way down to nothing.
According to Keisha, he's made several threats before, but this is the first time he's dared to follow through.
Earl got out of control over money and made a whole lot of threats on wanting to kill me. He would say such things, but the mannerism of how he would say them was in such a way as being sarcastic, not in a serious, oh, I'm gonna come kill you like you hear on television.
I loved my wife, but she deserved what she had coming. I've been very sick for months, and this is something that I could not help.
Did he have a past criminal history?
He had a criminal history within our marriage, yes.
What was he arrested for?
Drug charges. When he did not have it, you saw an animal like a wolf just coming after you type personality.
And Keisha's daughter Debonae recalls one horrifying moment years before when her father actually pulled a gun on her.
So your father put a gun to your head and wanted money from you?
Yeah, pretty much.
And you had an order of protection in place against your own father? Because he was that dangerous of a man.
Yeah, he was.
And now Chief Bartholomew manages to get on the phone with Earl as he's on the run. He gets a blood-chilling response.
What was his state of mind during those conversations?
He was concerned about whether or not he had actually killed Keisha Valentine. He wanted to know, was she dead? I relayed to him the harm that he had caused to his son, and I could tell at that point he was kind of in shock about that.
The chief quickly realizes this unfolding tragedy is far from over.
At that point, he had indicated to me that he had planned to cause harm to the rest of her family. So, I mean, our concern was making contact with them and making sure they were safe.
So I don't know if I'm gonna make it where I'm going, but if I don't, I wish all of you a good life.
I knew at that moment that it would be one of two ways, that he wasn't coming in alive. And my main fear that he would harm another officer.
Even at Debonae's college campus, more than 60 miles away, security is on the lookout.
You thought your father was coming to kill you?
Yeah, like in my school, they had a flyer and they sent it to the whole school, like with his face on it.
Your father's face went out to your entire college.
And then 3 days after this bloody rampage, Earl Valentine is finally cornered by police at a motel in Columbia, South Carolina.
John, tell us how this all unfolded.
On the run after police say he murdered his 15-year-old son and shot his estranged wife in the chest.
We were able, to get a location on him and to get local, state, and federal law enforcement to his location, get him surrounded.
Cops fear a ferocious gun battle, but Earl fires only one shot, and it's over.
We were getting ready to enter the building. Like the coward he was, he took his own life instead of facing us.
Back at the hospital, Keisha is still fighting for her life. To the doctor's amazement, she is slowly winning the battle. And she still desperately wants to know only one thing.
I screamed it. Where's Earl? First thing coming out of my mouth.
And then her world comes crashing down around her all over again.
A gentleman in a white coat comes up to me. Keisha Valentine, like, yes. So where is my son? Where is Earl? I hate to inform you that in that shooting you were in, your son passed. And the man walks out of the room.
Her son Earl Valentine III is dead at just 15.
It seemed like a dream, to be honest. I still can't believe it to this day, someone tell me like that.
Gunned down at the hands of his own father. But not before he literally saves his mother's life with his own quick thinking, bleeding to death as he calls for help.
You know how I'm sitting here.
I know. You have a lot of faith.
And I gotta be strong for him, because he made the call to get me where I am today.
He's a hero.
He is a hero.
Are you disappointed Earl took his life and is not here to face justice?
Of course I am. I'm angry by it because I wanted to ask him, what made you go off the deep end? How do you feel now that you've killed your son?
And the tragedy is doubled as Keisha takes another listen to the last words of her son's 911 call. In fact, his very last words in this world. Earl III knows who shot him.
You and your mother been shot? Yes, I'm my dad. What's your name? Hello? Hello? Hello?
You believe he saw your husband's face, his own father's face?
I know he saw his father because he wouldn't have known. I know he did.
Today, DeBenet still treasures the video her little brother made for her only weeks before he died.
Hopefully you keep this in the memory. When you go to college, you'll watch this and remember about your brother when you go to college.
He was like, don't forget about him when I go to college and stuff.
For Keisha, the healing comes slowly as well. She's still partially paralyzed, wondering if she'll ever walk again.
You still have bullets lodged inside of you.
Yeah, I still have one in my spine.
So you just had a bullet removed just this week?
Yes.
Do doctors say, Keisha, you're gonna walk again, or we don't know?
Of course they don't know. They don't believe I'm alive, lady. They can't believe I exist. That's the ultimate goal. I want to walk again. When my walking proves I'm back 100% being Keisha. I want to be like I was.
And the love and the pride she carries for her son Earl will always count more than the 5 bullets she took in that hallway.
His spirit is amongst us every day. Every day. And I'm stronger because of it. Keeps me strength, trust me. You ask me every day, how do I do it? I do it because of Earl.